their supply chain that seems to have been infiltrated. Is there human intelligence involved here? These are still things that the group will have to figure out as they move forward. Hezbollah has vowed to respond to Israel. Yesterday, Tuesday, September 17, there was an attack across Lebanon that targeted a certain type of pager. This pager ostensibly was used and carried by members of the militant and political group Hezbollah. However, a number of civilians were also wounded. This attack overwhelmed the medical services in the country. It overran hospitals, and every medical worker in the country was called into work. The Ministry of Health asked people to stay off the roads yesterday so that emergency services could do their job. Hezbollah blamed Israel for the attack, as did the Lebanese state. They called it an indiscriminate attack and a violation of Lebanese sovereignty, and Hezbollah vowed to respond to this, what they consider an aggression from Israel. Now, this attack was something that really stretched the imagination, in the sense that these portable devices that people carry around with them day to day exploded. One person told me that immediately after the explosions, they thought that people were being shot at randomly, then they didn't know where the gunfire was coming from. It turned out to be exploding pagers. I visited various hospitals today and tried to speak to people outside. Most people refuse to speak altogether. There is a lot of distrust and fear running through the population at large right now. However, one man who was 40 years old told me, as he was standing outside the American University of Beirut Medical Center, he wasn't scared and that fear was the furthest thing from his mind. He also said that he heard explosions in Beirut's southern suburbs at that time, and what essentially he had heard was a succession of explosions that happened slightly spread apart. So every few seconds he heard another one. That would mean that the attack occurred in a way that was not exactly simultaneous, but in quick succession. Beyond that, now Hezbollah as an organization will have to rethink their supply chain, because essentially the reporting that's come out on this seems to indicate that there was a Taiwanese company that was producing these pagers. There had been a third-party agreement with a company that seems to have been in Hungary. I've seen reporting on this that seems to indicate that there was not a strong physical presence, and there's a number of other information kind of swirling around this at the moment. It seems experts seem to agree that for this type of explosion to happen, there would have need to be a way that explosives, a small amount of explosive, could be essentially placed into the device, but the device would still need to pass Hezbollah inspection and still need to be able to work. And it has been an effective device. These pagers have been in use for a few months now, after Secretary General of Hezbollah figures to stop using cell phones. In fact, he called for anyone in the south of Lebanon and beyond to stop using cell phones, as they were relaying signals and that the Israelis had hacked and been able to target and track people. So there had been this move away from that sort of technology. Now Hezbollah has to sit down and rethink how their communications will work, in addition to their supply chain that seems to have been infiltrated. Is there human intelligence involved here? These are still things that the group will have to figure out as they move forward. So this is what we know at this point in time. Hezbollah has vowed to respond to Israel. Recently, there's been an uptick on the Israeli side of the border in terms of rhetoric about moving troops towards, and there have been reports in Israeli media about lobbying for front on Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, and potentially even in some quarters calling for a reoccupation. Of course, Israel occupied Lebanon from 1985 until the year 2000. They occupied South Lebanon when they were driven out in the year 2000. So this is what we know right now, and we're waiting to see what the response will be, or if Israel will take further actions. Until then, we have to wait and see how this unfolds.